Recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to make my contribution to the Child Justice Amendment Bill 2024. Now, Mr. Speaker, it's not for us to go on and on and on these matters, understanding that we would have raised some of the points in the earlier bills. But, Mr. Speaker, and I'll just go to the sections that I have some concerns, because while we can agree that a person, whether a juvenile or an adult, should be punished for the crime they commit, I believe that it is necessary for us to differentiate and to treat children, juveniles as juveniles, and adults as adults. So, while the AG would have outlined a few sections with trying to amend and fix certain situations, Mr. Speaker, Section 7, amendment of Section 69, referral to prison. Now, you're seeing that persons who commit offense from the age of 14 and over, whereas before it was over 14. So now you're putting persons younger than over the age of 14.
14. You can charge them criminally
in prison.
For the upwards.
Okay. But, Mr. Speaker, my concern about that is why you treat them in such a manner. I am of the view, Mr. Speaker, that these juveniles should be housed in a different facility.
Agreed. That's how we have
for the period of their sentence.
That's how we have a detention center.
Yeah. And Mr. Speaker, they aren't such facility at this point. So I understand that we're trying to solve a problem here, but it seems as if we're putting the horse before the cart. Because while there is no facility, it means that these juveniles, they've been sent up to 1735. And we would have heard various organizations spoke about the manner in which the state of the prison at this point, and the fact that it's inhumane to house people in that. So to put our juveniles in such a facility, it's simply now creating another issue, because juveniles who you can rehabilitate now being housed with hardened criminals, it would be harder for us to have these juveniles rehabilitated. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if this is the best move to move at punishing the young ones by putting them with hardened criminals. And rather than the government looking at a facility for this present moment, earmark it as the juvenile facility, so that the juveniles can house in that facility until the one that the Prime Minister just said that they're going to build is finished. So you don't have those juveniles in Her Majesty's prison with those hardened criminals. So just as how, Mr. Speaker, the government would have moved to look at the base, the American base, and declare that as a prison to house the gentleman from England, who, based on the extradition treaty and the others, they have to have a facility to house him. I believe they should look at doing such with the juveniles. I think it's very important. Also, to Mr. Speaker, the amendment, Section 8, expunging of records. Now, Mr. Speaker, I would have recalled, we would have done some amendment to a bill here to expunge criminal records from juveniles over a period of time. But, Mr. Speaker, this piece of legislation is simply undoing that by putting by taking away the fact that it can be expunged from the records of a juvenile once they turn the age of 21. Now, Mr. Speaker, we understand that it's based on certain crimes. But, Mr. Speaker, why are we looking to punish the youth of this country rather than rehabilitating them? Because the bills that we have passed here, Mr. Speaker, they are more about punishment rather than rehabilitation. So I'm urging the government, just as how they eagerly pass these bills in Parliament, and again, it's something that I believe is necessary. However, the same eagerness must be placed on a proper facility and with a proper structure to offer rehabilitation rather than punishment. Because after you would have matured and realizing the error of your ways, according to this bill, it's going to travel with you. Because in the previous amendment, Mr. Speaker, in the previous amendment, at the age of 20, in the previous act, at the age of 21, some of the offenses can be expunged from your record. But with this, you're taking out that provision totally. And I would want the AG to look at it and see how we can continue to maintain that, knowing that for certain offenses, it cannot be expunged from your record. But I believe, Mr. Speaker, that Section 8, the amendment to the Act, Section 8, Mr. Speaker, by repealing Section 75 of the Principal Act, is amended by totally removing subsection 7. I believe, Mr. AG, we need to look at that again. We need to. Mr. Speaker, that's my contribution to this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.